Okay, today we are going to be looking at the steps for solving two-step equations and inequalities. What we've been doing in the past is just the one step. This is the 7th grade standard. Okay, so first I'm going to look at the steps. We're going to do the same thing we did with the one step. We're going to draw a line from the equal sign or the inequality symbol. We're going to box the x, and we're going to start on the side with the x. We are going to add or subtract to both sides the number that is without the x, and I'm going to refer to it as the tag-along number because it's tagging along with the x. We're going to solve and bring down what is left. We will then divide or multiply to both sides by the number that is in front of the x, and then it will give you your solution for x. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at our first example. My equation reads 8 plus 4x equals 28. Okay, so in my steps it says to draw a line down from the equal sign or the inequality symbol. So there's my line. I am going to box the x, and when we box the x we want to box it with the symbol, and so I have a positive 4x, and then we're going to start on the side with the x, and we're going to take care of the tag along number first. I need to move the 8, and it is a positive 8 from the left. I'm adjusting my screen so you can see it. From the left side to the right. And so since it is a positive 8, I'm going to subtract 8, and I'm going to do this from both sides. When I do that, the 8's will cancel. I will bring down my 4x, and 4x is going to equal 28 minus 8, which is 20. Okay, when my signs are different, it is a subtraction problem, and I take the sign from the larger number. Okay, so here's the second step. I have 4 times x equals 20. So since this is multiplying, I'm going to divide both sides by 4. When I do that, 4 divided by 4 gives me 1, because that is what I want, the 1x. And 1x is going to equal 20 divided by 4, which is 5. Okay, so my solution for this equation is x equals 5. So when I check, I'm going to follow the same steps as I did with the one step. I'm going to substitute the 5 into the equation. So I'm going to start with the equation. It was 8 plus 4x equals 28. I'm going to substitute the 5 for x. So I have 8 plus 4 times 5 equals 28. 8 plus 20 equals 28. And then I see that 28 on the left is going to equal the 28 on the right, so I know my solution is true. Okay, So now what we're going to do is we're going to graph our solution. And when we graph our solution, we have to look, we're graphing this x equals 5. And so since it is x equals 5, there's only one solution that makes this equation true. So when it equals something, it is a closed circle. Closed means that it's equal. And my x equals 5, and so I'm just going to put a 5 under the closed circle to show that that is my solution to the equation. Okay, so now let's look at the next example. And remember, you can pause the video at any time if you need to write or to listen to something again. Okay, so up at the top, my inequality reads 4x plus 3 is less than 11. So my first step is to draw my line down from the inequality symbol. I'm going to box my x. It is a positive 4x. And now I'm going to add or subtract the tag-along number. My tag-along number is a 3, and it is a positive 3, so I have to subtract 3 from both sides. When I subtract 3 from both sides, it cancels on the left. I bring down my 4x, and my inequality is less than, and now I have 11 minus 3. Again, when my signs are different, it is a subtraction problem. So 11 minus 3 is, 8? It is positive because the 11 was positive. It's the larger number. Okay, so now I have 4 times x is less than 8. I have to divide both sides by 4 because the opposite of multiplying is dividing. When I divide both sides by 4, I am left with the 1x, and it is less than 8 divided by 4, which is 2. Okay, so my solution is x is less than 2. So now I'm going to prove it. I'm going to put a number that is less than 2 back into this equation, and it can be any number less than 2. So I'm going to try 0. 0 is less than 2, so I'm going to go 4x plus 3 is less than 11. 4 times 0 plus 3 is less than 11. 4 times 0 is 0. So now I have 3 is less than 11. And I know that that is a true statement, so my solution is correct. Okay, so now I'm going to graph the inequality. So I am graphing this solution here into this number line. Okay, it does not have the equal sign. It just says x is less than 2. If there is no equal to on an inequality, it is an open circle. Because remember, a closed circle means that it also includes this number. But we do not have that in our solution. It is x is less than 2. So I'm going to open my circle. I'm going to put a 2 under it. And this time I'm going to put an arrow, because an arrow is going to tell me that any number less than 2 would make the solution true. So my arrow is going to go towards any number that is less than 2. And just a heads up, your arrow will always follow the same way your inequality is facing. So you see that it is facing or pointing to the left. My arrow is going to go to the left. Okay, so now let's look at our last example. Our last example reads 27 is less than or equal to 7 plus 5x. I'm going to drop my line for the inequality. I'm going to box my x and its sign. And then I have a tag-along number of a positive 7. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. And remember, you can pause the video at any time so that you can keep up or write or listen to it again. When I subtract 7 from both sides, the 7's cancel on this side, on the right side. I am left with the 5x. And I'm going to keep the inequality symbol facing the same way. And a 27 minus 7 is 20. So now I have 20 is less than or equal to 5x, or 5x is greater than or equal to 20. So my next step is to divide both sides by 5. When I do that, I am going to get my 1x. I'm going to keep the inequality facing the correct way. And 20 divided by 5 is 4. So my inequality reads 4 is less than or equal to x. But I like writing, or you want to read from the x. And so I'm going to rewrite this inequality so that it starts with the x. I'm going to make sure that the inequality is still facing the same way. It is opened up to the x. And so I'm going to make sure that it is opened up to the x. And I'm rewriting it. So now I am going to graph, or I'm going to prove x is greater than or equal to 4. These two are the exact same inequality. Okay, I'm just reading it from the x on this second one. Okay, so I need a number that is greater than or equal to 4. I'm going to check with 4 because it can be equal to 4. So 27 is less than or equal to 7 plus 5x. 27 is less than or equal to 7 plus 5 times 4. 27 is less than or equal to 7 plus 20. And you're going to see that 27 is equal to 27, so I know my solution is correct. Okay, so now I'm going to graph the inequality. I'm going to graph the solution. So I'm graphing this x is greater than or equal to 4. Okay, so it has the equal, greater than or equal to 4. So if it is equal to, it has to be a closed circle because it is going to include 4. I'm going to put 4. And it is greater than or equal to 4. My arrow is pointing to the right, so my arrow is going to go to the right. And so that would be the way you would graph this solution. Okay, so that concludes your notes. I don't want you to put this away yet in your journal. You will glue it in your journal, but you are going to need this for your assignment. Your assignment is just solving equations and inequalities. I will be walking around if you need my help. I will work with anybody who needs help in the back. Okay, thank you and good luck on your assignment.